So have you ever, like really stopped to think, could AI actually get smarter than us?
Because we've got this BBC article, right? And it's all about that, about AI and whether it can outsmart us. And get this, they're using riddles to figure it out.
Riddles. That's interesting.
Yeah, riddles, like those brain teasers we used to do as kids.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How do riddles help us understand AI's intelligence?
Well, it's all about the logic, you see. And this article starts with an example that AI really seems to struggle with. It's something that you, as a human, would probably find super obvious.
Okay, hit me with it.
All right, let's say you've got this information about someone named Mabel. You know her heart rate at 9 a.m., her blood pressure at 7 p.m., and that she, unfortunately, passed away at 11 p.m.
Okay, I'm following so far.
Now, the question is, was Mabel alive at noon?
Um, yeah, I mean, unless she had some incredibly unusual medical condition, she'd have to be alive at noon to pass away later that night.
Exactly. It's like common sense for us, right? But for some reason, AI systems often trip up on this kind of thing. It's all because of this thing called temporal reasoning.
It's temporal reasoning.
Yeah, it's basically the ability to understand the flow of time and events within that flow.
Ah, I see. So while AI might be able to process the individual data points, heart rate, blood pressure, time of death, it struggles to put those pieces together in a way that reflects the natural progression of time, like we do.
You got it. It's like AI can understand the individual moments, but not the flow between them, you know?
That's a really interesting point. It highlights how much we take for granted about our own brains. We don't even think about these things. We just inherently get it.
Exactly. And this whole temporal reasoning thing, it's not just about Mabel and her day. It actually has some pretty big implications for more complex situations.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, think about medical diagnoses. Doctors need to understand how a patient's symptoms have evolved to make a diagnosis, right? Or how about financial forecasting, where analysts need to predict future trends based on past performance?
Right, or even just understanding a conversation where the meaning builds over time.
Exactly. All these things rely on this ability to reason about time that right now AI is still trying to wrap its circuits around.
It's like AI has all these amazing processing powers, but lacks this really fundamental human skill.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like, what other hidden talents does our human brain possess that we haven't even begun to understand?
It's a fascinating thought. And speaking of fascinating, this article doesn't just focus on AI's weaknesses. It also dives into some pretty surprising situations where AI might actually have an edge over us in the logic department.
Oh, you mean there are times when our human brains might be holding us back?
Believe it or not, yes. And it often comes down to this thing we call intuition.
Intuition, huh? So you're saying our gut feelings can sometimes lead us astray when it comes to logic puzzles?
Exactly. We tend to think of intuition as this, like superpower humans have, but it can be a real double-edged sword, you know?
Okay, I'm curious. Give me an example. Where does human intuition go wrong with logic?
All right, have you ever heard of the bat and ball riddle?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Isn't it one of those trick questions that seems easy but totally trips you up?
That's the one. It goes like this. A bat and a ball cost $1.10 together.
Okay, got it.
The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost?
10 cents. Wait, hold on, is that right? See, I knew there was a catch.
Most people blurt out 10 cents
Yeah.
right away. But if you actually crunch the numbers, the ball costs 5 cents.
5 cents. Wow, you're right. It's amazing how our brains try to take that shortcut and jump to the most obvious answer.
Exactly. And that's where AI, at least in its current form, can sometimes have a leg up. It doesn't rely on those same intuitive leaps that we do.
So it's not that the AI is necessarily smarter, it's just that it doesn't get fooled by our human need to simplify things.
That's a great way to put it. But there's a really important thing to remember here. While AI might not fall for the bat and ball trick, it's probably because that specific riddle, or some version of it, was already in its training data.
Ah, so it's not so much that the AI understands the logic better, it's just that it's seen the answer before.
Precisely. Which brings us to a really crucial point this article brings up, the importance of novelty when we're testing AI. When you hit AI with truly new problems, stuff it hasn't seen before in its training, that's when we really start to see the difference between human intelligence and artificial intelligence.
So how do you test AI with truly new problems? Like, how do you even come up with stuff it's never encountered before?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The researchers in this article, they turn to something called Rebus puzzles.
Rebus puzzles, those are those visual riddles, right?
Yep.
Where you've got to figure out the hidden meaning using pictures and words and symbols all mixed together.
Exactly. They're like these little visual brain teasers.
Right. Like that one with the image of an eye, then the word to, and then a picture of a bee, I to B. Get it.
Exactly. And because rebus puzzles rely on such a wide range of visual and linguistic cues, they're super hard to predict or prepare for, even with huge data sets.
So you can't just like feed an AI a dictionary of rebus puzzles and expect it to ace the test.
Nope. It's way more challenging for AI because it demands a different kind of thinking. You need that flexibility and ability to make connections that goes way beyond simple pattern recognition.
Okay, that makes sense. So how did the AI do? Were the machines able to crack the code of the rebus puzzles? So how did they do? Did the AI conquer the rebus puzzle?
Well, humans still came out on top, like we kind of expected.
Humans 1, AI 0. Again. Okay, what was the score?
Yeah, humans solved like a surprising number of them, 91.5% correct.
Wow, that is impressive. All right, so how did the AI do? Did it even come close?
Not too shabby, not too shabby. The best one, GPT-4, got 84.9%.
Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. It seems like, AI is really catching up even with these creative, outside-the-box thinking puzzles.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Humans still win, but AI is getting better. This article I was reading goes on to talk about this other study, a much bigger one. They really put AI through its paces with this one.
Oh,
So they didn't just use a few puzzles. They used like a ton of them, 21 different types of reasoning problems.
okay, so like a real logic gauntlet for the AI. What kind of stuff did they throw at it?
Well, all sorts of things. They tested basic math skills and then like spatial reasoning, how to read charts, even some tricky paradoxes.
Wow, so they really went all out. And how did AI do? Did it survive this logic boot camp?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. Even the really advanced AI like GPT-4, the one that did so well with the rebus puzzles, it started to stumble when they made it do these tougher reasoning tasks.
I knew it. It couldn't all be smooth sailing for AI, right? Okay, give me an example. Where did this brainy AI mess up?
All right, so there's this one called the Watson selection task. Imagine you've got these cards, right? They've got numbers on one side and colors on the other.
Okay, I'm picturing it. What do I have to do?
Right, so you're given a rule like if a card has an even number on one side, then it must be red on the other side.
Okay, so far so good. What's the catch?
The task is to pick which cards you need to flip over to see if the rule is actually true.
Oh, I see. That's trickier than it sounds. So how did the AI handle it?
Well, that's where GPT-4 tripped up. It kept choosing cards that didn't actually matter for proving or disproving the rule.
Oh, so even though it had all the information right there, it couldn't apply the logic correctly.
Yep, that's it, exactly. It just shows even if you give AI tons of data, it can still struggle with abstract logic, those rule-based problems. And there was another one, a geography question. They asked the AI, if you're standing in the middle of South Dakota facing the middle of Texas, would Boston be on your left or your right?
Seriously. Okay,
Yeah.
even I know that one. Boston would be on the right. Did it get it right?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But no, it got the states, where they were, but it messed up the directions, like left and right.
You're kidding. So it had the geography knowledge, but just couldn't put it all together spatially, like how we just do automatically?
Exactly right. And it shows this gap that's still there. AI can process all this information, but it still can't quite grasp those spatial relationships like we do, without even thinking about it.
It's like it has all the puzzle pieces, but struggles to put them together in a way that makes sense in the real world.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. But listen, AI is constantly learning, constantly being updated, right? The article actually mentions a newer model, GPT-01, that's designed specifically to tackle these more difficult reasoning tasks. So even though it might not have all the answers just yet, it's definitely getting there, learning more all the time.
That's both really cool and a little bit, I don't know, unnerving.
For sure.
But for now, it seems like us humans, we get to keep our crown as champions of thinking. At least until AI figures out spatial reasoning, logical deductions, and maybe just a little bit of common sense. Thanks for taking the deep dive with us today. It makes you wonder, as AI keeps learning, will it unlock new ways of thinking that we haven't even imagined yet? And could understanding how AI thinks help us to understand our own brains even better?